it in now, it's time to begin. We're gonna get it started. Just believe in your dream and you know you can be anything you want it.
What's going on, guys? I'm the startup chauffeur and I interview inspiring startup founders. You ask questions, they answer them. Today I'm joined by Felix Hemmerling, co-founder of Univize. Felix, your elevator pitch starts right now.
Hey guys, so Univize is an online platform and mobile application that connects students who want to go to university with students who are currently at university, so they can get a better idea of what it's like to study a specific course at a specific university or in a particular city. And the way it works is simple. Students can either read through the comments written by current students or they can privately engage with them.
So Felix, you and your co-founder stopped actively working on Univize and you're now product manager at Bank of Luxembourg. What's the difference, and do you see yourself taking on a venture soon?
The biggest difference is the dynamic within the company. As a startup, when you're just 2, 3 or 4 people or even a bit more, you can just implement anything you want. You can just implement your ideas you have today and they're implemented tomorrow. And you don't have a bureaucratic process, you don't have that lengthy process of getting it approved by different people. So I think that's the biggest difference, definitely. Regarding if I'm motivated to take on a new venture soon, that's a question I like as well, because I think you shouldn't take on a venture only for the sake of it. I think you should be taking on ventures that you fundamentally believe in, a venture where you can solve a problem and not just start a venture in order to be an entrepreneur, in order to be a founder. And I'm actually asked the question quite often why after Univize I'm not starting my next venture, why I'm not having a new startup. And the reason is just because I don't have any idea at the moment where I'm like, okay, that's worth pursuing.
Okay, let's get straight to the questions.
Alright, what channels and methods did you explore and use in the early stages when trying to raise funds? Which of these were most/least effective, and in hindsight, is there anything you would do differently now? The main part of it was our own money, which we saved during the past years. After that, when you come to your first serious round of fundraising, what we did is reaching out to or trying to get into that funnel of private angel networks, private angel investors. That was the most challenging part, getting into a network of angel investors and really into a network of angel investors who are willing to take a risk. So we did 100 different things. We applied to startup competitions, we applied to acceleration programs, we tried to raise funds with external parties, we tried to reach out to angel investors ourselves.
Also crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding as well, actually we tried that as well, which didn't work out for us. We didn't hit our target. I think, to get back to the question, if there's anything I would do differently now, is I would focus my time on applying for acceleration programs and getting into the angel investor network. I think the acceleration programs are a great way of funding your startup, especially at an early stage, and getting the mentorship, which we actually got with the Lux Innovation Fit for Start program here in Luxembourg, which was actually a great milestone for Univize and which also helped us to get to the next phase as a startup. What is your tip or tips to manage diverse projects in your professional life and keep balance with your personal life? #askfounders. Organizational skills is something you need to have if you want to succeed in stressful projects, in projects that take a lot of your personal time. And not sacrificing everything you do. So I'd say your organization is definitely something I managed to do well. I learned to be organized from a very early stage. I did a lot of triathlon. I was in the national squad, so I was used to train for hours every day. And I quickly learned that I have to organize myself. If you could change one decision you made during your time building Univize, what would it be? #askfounders. I think it's less of a decision I would change. It's more of a way of working I would change, and that's basically testing all the assumptions we made. And I think we realized that quite late, that we have to really test in depth all the assumptions we were making. And there were quite a few assumptions we were testing only 1 year or 1.5 years after launching Univize. An advice I would give to anyone is to really test your assumptions. Don't make these risky assumptions. They say all great entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries all have their routines in life. What's a day in the life of Felix, and how has that shaped who you are today? #askfounders. I think, or my key is to don't have like really a routine, a strict routine, but have like kind of a structure in your day. What I'm trying to do is do sports every day. So either going for a run, swimming, playing tennis, whatever it is. So I'm relaxed. I'm kind of leveled out. Other than that, as a routine, I wouldn't call it a routine, but just not being focused on one single project or one single thing. Try to do new things, learn new things, learn new stuff. You might be the greatest musician, but if you never tried to play piano, how would you know? At some stage, I just started to learn coding. Just because I want to learn coding and know what it is and kind of see if I'm even good at it. In my free time, I'm just producing beats. I have a great mentor there. Shout out to Daddy, producing some great beats. What was the moment or reason that made you realize it was time to stop working on your venture and move on? #askfounders. I think it was a combination really of a few different things, whether that was our own values, the execution of the team, our skills. We just saw as well that we had different opportunities than having a startup, even though having a startup, it sounds fancy and everyone wants to be an entrepreneur and CEO, whatever it is. But we just saw that besides the startup, besides our venture, we had other opportunities as well. How did you cope with social pressure when things went less well than expected? #askfounders. We often found ourselves in the spot where we announced the launch of Univize 1.0, the launch of Univize 2.0, 3.0, and so on, new app development, new platform, but we weren't able to launch on the planned launch date. And I think that was the biggest challenge for us then, to kind of deal with that, not only pressure, but also kind of explain or not explain why it took so long to launch the new app. You mustn't listen to what people are saying, you mustn't listen to the criticism in that sense, or you mustn't feel stressed out when it comes to these, let's say, launch dates. Another good strategy as well is actually to not announce any launch dates. More at the end of our venture, we stopped announcing launch dates, we stopped announcing that we are working on the 2.0, but we just launch it. What is your one tip on where to start? #askfounders. I honestly had no idea where to start. It was our first venture, we were first-time entrepreneurs, and we had no idea what's going to be. The one tip I would give first-time entrepreneurs especially is get yourself a mentor. For me, it worked out pretty well. It was very random, it wasn't planned. I didn't actually look for a mentor, but I happened to meet a mentor who is still my mentor today, who has a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and who was able to guide me through the very challenging times, also to give some advice from his own ventures and give some advice from what he's seen when investing in ventures. Get yourself a mentor, someone experienced who can guide you along the way. Everyone has certain expectations and dreams when setting up a startup. What's the biggest surprise that you encountered on the Univize journey? #askfounders. We followed our passion, we followed our vision in that sense without really having expectations. The biggest surprise was how quickly it can work out, how quickly you can gain traction, how fast you can grow. At the same time, I also think it's fascinating, and that was also a surprise, how quickly it can go the other way, how quickly there can be challenges that partially destroy your venture. How did you manage to run a company and still pass your exams? #askfounders. Be organized, know when you have to study, when you have to work on your venture, and I think that's what I managed pretty well. As I said, with doing a lot of sports, from an early stage onwards, I learned to be organized. I learned how to deal with stress, and I think that was the key of balancing those two. In fairness, I have to say there's also a lot of sacrifices in that sense you have to make. I don't want to say I was an antisocial person, but there were quite a few nights where I cancelled, or where I just preferred working on Univize than going for a few pints. So I think that's something you have to decide for yourself. whether that is a sacrifice for you or not. For me, it wasn't really a sacrifice because I enjoyed every single second I worked on Univize. And I think that's the nice thing. If you work on your own venture, you don't really see it as a sacrifice because you love doing what you do. That's what a lot of people maybe didn't understand at that time when I said no quite a lot for going for pints or whatever. But then at the same time, I managed as well to drink my pints during my college life. So there's no regret. Did outsourcing app development make the startup journey more challenging? #askfounders. My co-founder and I, we were non-technical co-founders. So we actually launched a tech startup without having any technical knowledge. We didn't develop, we didn't program whatsoever. I think the biggest difference is that if you have in-house developers, especially those who have a stake in the company, and developers who are not related to the company at all, who are just outsourcing the development with them, these developers will never be as passionate about your startup as you are. If you encounter some challenges, stressful times, and you want to have something launched very quickly, I think if you have someone on board who develops and who has a stake in your company, that person will understand why we have to develop fast, and that person will make sure we hit the launch date and we develop fast. Whereas if you outsource, you pay in order to have it done by different people.
How difficult was it to get an investment round when you didn't have a full team, you didn't have a CTO in your team?
That was actually a challenge we encountered quite often. Whenever we pitched, we were asked, okay, and who's your CTO or who's the technical co-founder? And we both were non-technical co-founders, so that was definitely a challenge. But it definitely makes stuff easier if you have a technical co-founder on board. We had a third business partner on board for a while, and that's also when we realized that it was easier to raise funds or to be accepted in acceleration programs. They just see you as a whole team, as a team that can execute not only on the business side but also on the technical side.
What would you advise people who are just starting out?
Even though I think having a technical co-founder has a lot of benefits, I don't think you should wait to launch your startup only with a technical founder.
Because that's what most people actually do. Right?
Exactly. I think a lot of people stress out because they don't have a technical co-founder or because they don't have technical knowledge. But there's a huge amount of examples where there's very successful startups around that were started by non-technical co-founders. And I think you find a way of outsourcing the development. And there's a lot of very skilled companies and very skilled developers, part-time developers or freelancers out there you can hire to develop your app or your platform or whatever it is.
Felix, this is your chance. What message do you want to get out there?
If you have an idea, if you are passionate about something, if you think you have a startup idea that could solve a problem, just do it. Just go out there. Don't be afraid of failing. I mean, we technically didn't fail, but we stopped working on it, and it's not a problem. I think you should just do what you think is right. You should do it if you have a passion for something. So just go out there, don't be afraid of failing, and launch your venture.
Guys, we reached the end of the interview. Thank you very much for sharing your questions. Make sure to follow Startup Chauffeur on social media and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Remember, you ask questions, they answer.